Welcome to another episode brought to you by Imagine Strength, the future of safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Are you a HIT studio owner looking for equipment that's not just top-notch, but also tailored to your specific needs? Imagine Strength is your answer. Inspired by the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength is revolutionizing the HIT industry with their state-of-the-art yet affordable equipment. Their team doesn't just sell HIT equipment, they live and breathe it. I've personally experienced their gear at the Resistance Exercise Conference, and let me tell you, it was an intense workout that I won't soon forget, in the best way possible, of course. So why choose Imagine Strength? Number one, they provide customized solutions for HIT studios. Number two, they have budget-friendly yet high-performance designs. And number three, they're committed to innovation and excellence in high-intensity training specifically. Founder Jeff Turner and his dedicated team are on a mission to make HIT accessible to everyone. Getting started is easy. Number one, visit imaginestrength.com. Number two, consult with their expert team. And number three, choose the equipment that will skyrocket your business. Don't wait. Head over to imaginestrength.com and elevate your HIT studio today with Imagine Strength. Lauren Snell here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for elevating your HIT business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. This is episode 437, and I'm joined by Connie Holan. Connie is a web designer, digital strategist, podcast host, speaker, and educator. She's also a Mindbody certified business consultant and Squarespace expert. Her boutique website design agency, Pixality Design, works with fitness studio owners to create websites that are easily found, easy to update, and provide visitors with an exceptional online experience. Connie is also a retired Air Force pilot, which is like the coolest thing ever, and lives outside Lincoln, Nebraska, USA with her husband and 4 sons. So I imagine she's very, very busy, and I'm very grateful she's made the time to come on to the podcast. Great to be with you, Connie. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
You're very welcome. So just to give, I guess, the listeners a little bit of context, we actually got connected through a mutual friend, Sheila Melody. For those that don't know Sheila, she was a former podcast guest. She's a strength training studio owner in California. Her studio is called The Strength Code. She's awesome. She's doing great. Her business is awesome. So through her, I came to discover a bunch of sort of niche industry professionals, people that have designed businesses like yourself to really help the fitness sector, and more specifically, like the boutique fitness sector, which is amazing. And I'm excited to connect with, I think, your colleague, Chris Beer, Wizard of Ops, and a couple others who, again, are in this space. And I think it adds so much value to my audience. So anyway, that's one for another time. But excited to discover you, because I've certainly had people on the podcast who are website design experts, but it's great to get someone who really understands the fitness sector and can have that in the back of their mind when designing websites. So today, we're going to go through your 7-step fitness website audit checklist. Do you want to just kick us off and describe what that is, and then we can get straight into it?
Yeah, I think it's just a good baseline place to start, whether you did your own website. A lot of people start out creating their own website, or you had another designer do it. It's just a good kind of check-in on where your website is at. Maybe it's been a while since you really looked at it. And to answer the question, is it still working for my business? Is it doing what it needs to do? So I think it applies to anyone, whether you work with a designer or whether you created your own site. But it really just is, 7 different questions that I want you to pull up your website, take a look at it with fresh eyes, pretend that you are not the owner of it and you're not intimately familiar with your business, and be honest with yourself and answer these questions if you were a brand new person just opening up the site. The questions are, the first 4 are who, what, where, and why. And then I've got 3 hows to finish it up. So real simple framework. The first is, who are you? So open up your website. Who is this business? Is it clear who's behind the business? Or are you using stock photos? If you are, actually real trainers in a real brick and mortar location, is it clear that that's obvious and you're not kind of hiding behind stock photos? Is your logo large enough that you can actually read and understand what the business name is? Those things kind of set the stage, and most people have that in place. But if you can't tell who you are just from the start, you need to clear that one up. The second is
just on that, just on number one. And obviously, I'm assuming this has to be responsive, right? So across mobile, any device, that has to be clear. The logo has to be clear. the copy has to be large and readable. Obviously, the photos should be the same across all platforms. So is that an important aspect to this as well?
It
Yeah.
is, and that's where oftentimes we have problems with the logo, is where it looks big and beautiful on your desktop computer, but if, the logo is, more on the, you know, elegant side, or the font is really thin or something, once it gets smaller on those mobile screens, sometimes people have a hard time even reading what it is. So yeah, keep your logo simple enough that it can be viewed on mobile and
And
understood, because
that
that's the
can
whole
really
point.
affect trust and credibility as well. People they like consistency, don't they? Seeing the logo the same. Now, if you saw like the McDonald's logo somewhere and it was like really squished up and weird looking, you wouldn't trust whatever platform or whatever that's representing, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep,
Hmm.
for sure, and you would be surprised, you would think like, "Oh, yeah, everyone's got their logos," but I go to a lot of websites where the logo doesn't even show on different screen sizes, or they're just using an icon mark, and it's not very clear even, what the business is called, so it's
Got
kind
it.
of a good check-in.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. And sorry, just to back a step once more before you get into the second point, is you mentioned like the first question you ask is, or the first reason I guess you might go into this audit is you'd ask the question, my business isn't doing, my website is not working. It's not doing what I want it to do. Can we just define what that means exactly? Like, how do we objectively know if our website is working or not? Is it simply a matter of like, are we generating enough leads for our website or getting enough visitors, or how do you define that normally for people?
Yeah, it's a pretty big topic, really, and it's not. I think most people get started and they create a website and they're like, "Yes, it looks great," like, and that's where you stop, right? Like, how does it look, and do I feel like it looks
Mm,
good? But websites these days, especially for someone with a brick and mortar fitness business, there's a lot that you're asking it to do in reality if you actually want it to help your business. Um, I really, it's got to help you show up in search results locally. I mean, that's, people often put SEO in a different category for a different conversation. But the core pages of your website, they need to surface you for Google and other search engines. So they need to have that in place. So you need to have some visibility in search, and your website should be helping with that. It also needs to make a good first impression. So that trust factor has got to be there. And that comes off, like we alluded to, with that logo, that consistent branding, also the design of the site. Does it look professional? Does it look like you take your business seriously? So that first impression has to happen. Then, though, we are also then asking your website the next step to connect emotionally with the readers. And that happens with those photos, that happens with the copywriting, the headlines, the text on the site. So you have to go deeper and actually make people care about what you're doing. And then finally, your website's got to inspire action. It's got to be very clear what pages to go to. That functionality has to work and not be clunky and, break, and links have to work. And you have to have a really clear offer to inspire that action. So when you list all those things, I guess that's four things I listed out there, you're really asking your website to do a lot of heavy lifting for your business. And if you just look at it as a brochure site or just something that looks pretty online, you're missing out on the power that websites have for fitness studios these days.
awesome. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. We go into number two now, shall we?
Yeah. So, number one, who are you? Make sure that's clear. Number two, what does your business do? And this isn't really a place to get cute. I mean, I'm talking at this point, like, is it very clear what you offer in the language that someone would be looking for it? So, don't assume that they're going to infer that from your acronyms or your photos or anything. Spell it out, be very clear. This is important. I mentioned for Google and for search engines too, but if someone is searching for, strength trainer near me, or personal trainer near me, or fitness studio, fitness personal training near me, those types of terms, that's what's in their head that they're looking for. So you need to mimic that back and be very clear about what your business does at this point in the game. Like, right homepage, once you hit on it, is it very clear, or are you just assuming that they know based off of looking around your site?
Just on terms of copy on the site, are you a fan of would you think about it in terms of reading grade? So like obviously the lower the reading grade, the more kind of elementary it sounds, but the clearer it might be for the reader, and maybe that helps with SEO and Google as well. Do you think about that kind of stuff? Because I've started like taking copy and like I'll put it in like something like ChatGPT and I'll say convert this into reading grade 5 for like a sales page because it'll probably convert better because it'll probably be easier to understand. It's a little tip by the way. for those
Yeah.
listening. And but I'm curious what you think about that when it comes to copy on the website, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as a designer, I'm more look at how can I break this big paragraph of text down into things that are easily scannable. So headlines, bullet
Mm,
points, and that's essentially the same thing, right? It's whether it's a grade level necessary of comprehension or it's I'm busy and scrolling my phone while I'm checking out at the grocery store, and I need to get the big picture pretty quick. There's a lot of ways you can format that. You don't have to go back to your writing class and put things in full paragraphs and full sentences on the web. That's really not how it's done. So, how can you break things apart into more soundbite type stuff and really pay attention to those headlines and those bullet points as well. And if you layer that on, I think what you're talking about and creating, you have to create the language a little more simple in order to do that way. So it goes hand in hand.
cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. So where are we at now? We at number 3, are we? Where is your
Yep, we're at
business?
number
Yep.
3. So we've got the who, we've got the what, and now the where is your business. This seems totally obvious if you have a brick and mortar business, but I can't tell you how many websites I go to that I have to search all the way maybe to the contact page to figure out where in the world they even are. And this is even more important now in these post-pandemic years because there's been a lot of virtual training options out there now, right? So, you know, consumers can't assume that just because even if you have the same business name of something that they drove past a sign in their area, that you are the same business that they think you are. They need to know, yes, I am in the right place, that this is a business that is in my local area. Because the internet's full of businesses or similar sounding businesses. So for this, I usually put this as a subheading on the homepage, right after the very strength training in Lincoln, Nebraska, or, just right there. Definitely have it in your footer. So it's on every page and identical on every page. But I would put it very right up at the top somehow, it doesn't have to be your full address, but somehow your location so that people know they are in the right place when they first land on your site.
Okay. So just to clarify then, so will you have it in all of those places? So you have it in the footer on every page, at the header on every page, or the header on the home page?
Yeah, just the header on the homepage, and usually
Uh-huh.
just that first section. And if we're talking about the header being like the navigation bar and the logo, it doesn't have to be up there. Although there are some tools that some people do like the full address up there too. I'm thinking more where I put it is usually in that big main banner section where you usually have a big photo, a big catchy headline, and then right under that a subheading there that spells out that plain language. What does the business do and where does it do it? And then,
Okay.
yes, definitely put it in the footer. That'll keep it on every page. That's important for Google. Google likes to know that that website is legitimately where it says it is. Make sure that that matches your profile on Google too. And then on your contact page.
And do you advocate embedding like a Google map as well with the location on the website in the same places or something like
Yeah,
similar?
that's a great idea. I would put it at least in on the contact page. If you, I mean, it kind of depends the context of your business. If depending on your area, if people are looking in a specific downtown area, if you feel like it's important to have on the homepage, I definitely do that in some cases. In other cases where they're like, yeah, we're kind of the only one in this area, we don't need a real, finite, you know, zoomed in map. We'll just put it on the contact page. But at least in the footer, it should have your address and
Yeah.
then a link to, location, parking directions, which would be the contact page. So you can link to it from there.
I would say that most of us, because fitness is so competitive, that most of us are very well. I will be surrounded by businesses in the fitness space, not necessarily like our business in strength training, because I think what we do is quite unique for most of the people listening to this in their local area. But yeah, I'm just saying, I think it's a rare thing where you've got a business sort of like doesn't need to do that because they're just by themselves in some unless they're like in the middle of you know rural island somewhere. I don't
Right.
know. Or rural America, I guess, where most of my listeners are. Okay, all right. So, are we moving on to number 4? We got more to say on 3.
Yeah, I would say the last thing on 3 is, if that is the case in location and SEO is a really big part, then absolutely put that Google Map somewhere on the homepage and then also add in, put your address there, but then add in contextual direction things. So the near me
Mm,
searches are big, right? So, fitness class near me. It helps Google figure out what that person means. Google knows where the searcher is geographically. But it helps them kind of add context if you can add, our fitness studio is, around the corner from the McDonald's and, down the street from the, whatever local grocer. So if you can kind of give park in the back, parking's free. If you can give kind of those context information about your location, it just helps that paint that picture for Google
Interesting.
and for your client too. Parking's a big thing, especially if you're in a downtown area and they're not sure about how to park or if it's free or whatever. So
And so
add as
you
much as you
you,
can.
you could literally, that's just simply a matter of just writing the copy, put that in the same places we've just mentioned, where you're talking about where you're located. Just add that copy, simple directions and parking,
Yep.
etc.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating. Because just side note and related to this, parking's shocking in Galway City. It's notorious for bad parking everywhere. But where we're located on a business park, it's fantastic parking. Like, there's a huge surplus of parking, and people always comment on that. But we don't mention it anywhere on our website.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, what am I doing? So get that updated ASAP. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great selling point, or at least a hesitation buster. Like if people are like, "Yeah, but I don't want to go to that area because parking's bad." Like you can just squash that right away by saying, you know,
Yeah.
free parking, and yeah, anytime that it's something's written typed into your website, so it's active text on the website, it's not a picture that you added with the text over the top of it. Google can see that text if it's actually typed into the website on the back end. So if
Nice.
Google can see the text, then Google can put that together into their equation of context of where you actually are in relation to other businesses that they're giving directions to.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So number 4, why your business?
Right. And this is not the big why, like why you created your business, why you love it and everything. This, what I'm talking about here is, can I land on your website homepage and am I interested as the client? Do you hook me? Do I know that, like, why you over all the other fitness studio websites that I just pulled up to compare you to, right? So
Mhm.
this is a client focus, and this I'm usually talking about the headline. I want you to hit me with this right away when I load the website. A client focused headline that makes you stand out from the others that they pulled up. So, what's your unique selling proposition? In this industry, I think your kind of go to one is, the most effective workout you can get in 30 minutes or something of that nature. You are selling something different than, but you have to know how that plays with the other competitors in your area. But if you can
Mhm.
pull that into your headline, now you've got someone interested that, okay, now I know what's different about this business. I'm at least interested to look a little bit deeper. And then the second way you can show why your business is with photos and testimonials that show your target client. So when people read things from people that have the same goal as them and they mention reaching those goals with your business, okay, now they're getting more invested in the idea of working with your business because they feel like you can solve their personal problems. So client focused headline, photos, real photos and testimonials from your clients, to show why your business over your competitors is number 4.
Great. You know what I should have done? I should have been more brave and just loaded up our website and had you like rip it to pieces, Connie. But maybe we'll do that for a part 2, because I think that'd be so beneficial, because there's so many gaps in ours. It's a longer story. But in terms of the headline, I'm fascinated what you think of this. So we did our design based on Story Brand, so Donald Miller's
Right.
approach, right? And the headline is Unleash Your Potential. And the idea of that is, it's the, what is it, the internal emotional or external emotional, oh no, it's just what the target market or target prospect wants to actualize, I guess, was what drives that headline. Now,
Yeah.
I actually, not to constantly bring up AI, but I do find it very useful for stuff related to this. And I came up with that header as a result of trying to, taking lots of feedback from clients and figuring out, like, what do they really want deeply? And I sort of came to this conclusion that they want to realize what they're capable of, so hence that header. However, that's different to the kind of headline you're talking about, which is far more benefit focused, differentiator type focus. What's the what how do you what do you think yours is probably more effective? How do you think about this? I'm curious if we should change that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think about it as my problem with headlines that are too high level, which I think is kind of where yours is at. Not necessarily it's too high level, but it is a very
Yeah.
high level,
Don't hold back.
lofty thing, right? Yeah. My problem with that is that those types of things are overused a lot. I don't think they're going to stop people in their tracks and think, wow, this is different. I don't think people are laying awake at night thinking, I really need to unleash my potential, that type of thing. So that's the filter I put on it. Am I waking up at 4 in the morning feeling out of shape, feeling weak, whatever, and thinking, I really need to unleash my potential. No, I'm thinking, I need to get in shape, but I don't have time to do it. Everyone's talking about strength training. Maybe I need to, so I think things are a little too lofty. And I love the storybound framework for sure on thinking through the pain points of your clients and leading with that and making them the hero of their journey and
Mm,
all of
mm.
that. Like there's some really great things on that. But I think the risk there is we go too high level and it doesn't connect with the reality of real people in real life.
So have you seen this issue quite a lot then, this kind of abstract kind of notion of like what the person wants in the header being a problem? Is that something I'm just curious if you've corrected that on client websites previously, if this has come up a lot before?
I have. Yeah, I definitely have.
Okay.
And I like that the idea of the more lofty one being a little further down in the discussion. I think you start with the more tangible things that people are thinking about in their day to day and that they're struggling about. And then when you get to the point where you're introducing your solution, now you can bring that in and describe how your process works under that umbrella. So I think it's a good exercise and it's a good
Mm.
headline. I think it's just in the wrong place on the website. I don't think it hooks people from the beginning as well as something that's a little more unique selling proposition-ish.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I know Donald Miller will say in his books, like, it's not a strict order, like how you add all the ingredients to the website. Like he's quite liberal about the order. You can put in any order you
Mhm.
like. So maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe you can have that, but it has to be further down. And I kind of think I agree with the idea of, because it's quite, unleash your potential is very it's probably not that unique to your point, right? There's a lot of fitness businesses who would use that type of wording and that kind of like, yeah, that kind of message on their website. And therefore you just get, again, lost in the homogeneity of fitness websites that are all the same, right? Fitness business websites.
Right.
So this makes a lot of sense. And what's the saying? People don't buy better, they buy different, right? So, because it's
Yeah.
hard to articulate better or to represent that. And so actually by having a unique selling proposition type headline, you differentiate yourself immediately. It's the first thing they see, or one of the first things they see.
Yeah, and I think in this with your niche specifically, you do have that unique selling proposition. A lot of, general fitness studios, maybe yoga studios who have such a variety of stuff, they're kind of forced into going a little more high level because they offer, and they will say, we offer something for everyone type of thing. But in your case, in this niche with high intensity training, you have a very specific philosophy on fitness that you want to bring across. You have I think, a very powerful selling proposition. I think that this niche specifically has a very good opportunity to surface that higher level. And it's kind of a conversation I have with almost every client on, tagline versus headline. And are they, the same thing? In a lot of places they are. A lot of businesses can balance that, but you have a little more room in the headline to do more than just a tagline or a rallying cry or a mantra or something, which still may be a part of your brand and it has its place. But I think you can do
Right.
better with the headline space.
Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So, why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number one, they tailor make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number two, they provide cost effective solutions for your business. And number three, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today. Great, thank you. And what's next? So we on part B, photos and testimonials that show your target client. Oh, you covered that, didn't you? You mentioned about having the testimonials. I had a question about that though. We've embedded, and a lot of our colleagues have done this, like Google reviews on the
Yeah,
homepage, just as good. I mean, I
perfect.
thought they'd
Yep.
be even more trusted, right? Because it's Google.
Yeah.
What about, bark.com? Are you familiar with that service?
I've heard of it, but I'm not real familiar.
So well, it's in well, the my audience will be sick of me saying this, but it's been very good for us for lead generation. It's basically a place where you can buy warm leads, people that are interested in personal training, and you buy
Oh,
the lead
nice.
and then you call them, and it works very well. It's like warm outreach. And we've accumulated, I think, 12. Connie's writing it down as a new
I
tip.
am writing it down.
Um,
That's a good, I'll go
yeah,
look into
well,
that. Yeah.
I'll tell you more about that offline if you like. But yeah, so we've got I think 12 5-star reviews on that, and I'm always a bit annoyed because I'm like, go and leave the 5-star review on Google, or
Right.
I mean, we could just tell them to do both, I guess. But I'm wondering, long way of me saying, I guess we could also embed that as well somewhere on the website, like in the same place, like also 12 5-star reviews on bark.com, for instance, and then the Bark logo, so it's got the association, the credibility. Because I think a lot of consumers are aware of that now. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it depends. In one way, if you really just want to collect your top level, your best reviews, and tying that back into that headline conversation we just had, if you look through those reviews and you find reviews that are specifically mentioning, they're adding credibility to the headline promise that you just made up, those are great ones to surface. The challenge, I mean, the great thing about using a widget from like embedding Google reviews is it's the authority is through there. Obviously, you're not filtering those out; those are what's on Google. But another way that I've done it, especially if you've got great reviews on multiple platforms like you're talking about, is you handpick the ones that most authenticate what you said, the promise. They back up the promise that you just made, and then, everything's really cohesive on your site. And then you can, highlight those best reviews and put them on your site in a slider that you build on the site or something. So it doesn't have to be necessarily embedded.
Mhm.
And then you can always link underneath, see more reviews on Google, see more reviews on Bark or something. So that way you have a little more design and a little more curation ability in it. So that's an option too. But either way is works as long as there's something on there.
Cool. One more question on testimonials. I mean, maybe you answered this a bit already. How do you feel about, so again, like I think this is a story brand thing. Could be wrong. But they have a format for testimonial. So it's like you ask the prospect, the client, to say what the problem was, how life was like when it sucked, why it's better
Mhm.
now, what was the solution. So it's like a story, right? But then you've
Yeah.
got the other side of it, which is sound bites, like just like, people are scanning websites. They just want to see, I, whatever, I lost X pounds in 12 weeks or whatever it is. In our space, that's less of a thing because we're not so much focused on weight loss. It's typically more strength, and health outcomes associated with that. But it's something like, it could just be like a soundbite, like something really brief. How do you feel about, where do you lean in terms of that style of testimonial?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think they're kind of two different things. You can call them testimonials, reviews, case studies, client stories.
Oh, okay.
Depending on the length of them, I would group like lengths or like formats together and put them together on different pages. And actually, my philosophy on, a lot of fitness studios have a reviews page or testimonials page. I will tell you from the back end, those pages are some of the least visited pages on your website. Um, People just don't take the time to click and
It's
view another
counterintuitive,
page.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but so what I would do instead is sprinkle those reviews or those stories throughout the site where it makes sense. And so I think the homepage, like you're saying, embedding a general reviews widget or picking your very top ones, great. Add those to your homepage. But then on your maybe your private training page, you have some specific reviews picked out, and this is where you're more putting them directly on the website, whether they're long or short. Maybe you just have one of those long ones, like you said, that really tells the story of one person and how private training, maybe with a certain person even, or, tells their story a little bit deeper. So that would go on that page. And maybe you have one of those other longer stories that, goes on a small group class page or something. So you can sprinkle them in different places and different formats. They don't all have to be kind of identical in the same format. Because the thing to caution about is no one really wants to get to a point where there's reviews and one's really short and one's really long and one's really short. It looks bad on the website for one, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of jarring to your like, am I reading these? Am I scanning these? It's kind of tough to consume. So if you keep them in the same format in the same place, but they should be kind of sprinkled out throughout the website somehow.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. And my last question on testimonials is there such a thing as too many? Because I've seen, again, arguments for either side of this.
Yeah, I don't think so in general, and I would say, I would put, if you have some type of slider thing, visually, there's different ways to do it. So if you have some type of slider thing, you know, I don't know, no one's going to probably look through more than 5 to 7 on any given page. However, if you got a ton of them and they're great, this is where I would put an extra page that's called reviews or testimonials. Link it in your footer And that is useful for that person. There's different buyer personas, and there are people who are real researchers. And so if you are having a sales conversation with someone and they're like, I'm still not sure, you can send them to that page and they can see all 500 reviews or whatever. So you keep that as a digital asset for your business. I don't think you necessarily want to surface all of those in the first time visitors flow on your website, but having that as a database is, I don't think you can have too many there as long as they're all good.
Fantastic answer. Thank you for that. All right. So where are we at now? Number 5. How do I book?
Right. And so we went through the W's already, the who, what, where, why. So these last three are how. So this gets into the functionality of the website. Like, okay, I'm sold. I trust your business. I want to learn more. I want to take some action. So the first how is, how do I book? The number two, this is after the homepage. The number two most visited page on any fitness website that I've seen is the scheduling or the booking page.
Mm.
And granted, this is a lot of return clients coming back and wanting to book, but people, when they're making that initial buying decision, they want to know how easy it is to book, if there's a wait list, if the days, times that are available work with their schedule. This is key decision-making information, much less an operational day-to-day thing for your business. So is it very clear from the top navigation? And so I'm at these last 3 points, we're really talking about that top navigation or buttons throughout the site. Is it very clear how I book, and can I see what my booking options will be so I can decide if it fits into my schedule?
Okay. All right. Got it. So sorry, let me just recap that. Most visited page. Okay, so it's the second most visited page. Um, days and times. So what do you encourage there then? Do you encourage, so for instance, you could simply have these are opening hours, right? And the days of the week and the times, or would you have embedded some kind of widget for scheduling to make it really seamless and clean? I know, but from personal experience, we've struggled a lot with finding, not to moan about mind body too much, but finding,
I've heard it all. So
I bet you have, widgets that embed seamlessly. And again, with people that aren't familiar with coding and don't have a lot of technical skill, like what's your suggestions for achieving this and having this information on a website in an effective way?
yeah, I would absolutely try online booking. I think that's pretty expected by a lot of people now.
Right.
If you have that online booking widget, they can see what's available. If you have recurring appointments type things, like you can lock in, your sessions every Tuesday, Thursday nights at 4:30. You need to make that information available. Yeah, just kind of what the process looks like. But if you have the option, if you have a booking software that embeds, and you haven't had too many problems with it, I would suggest doing that for sure. And
Got it.
also check that that's an easy thing to do on mobile, because that's another thing that those end up getting a lot of kind of messed up on mobile sometimes. So definitely check that.
Yeah, it's just no. Recently, I've noticed a lot of fitness businesses investing in either typically their own scheduling apps now, or maybe they're white labeling something. I've noticed
Right.
that a lot more now because it's like you say. I think people are just really used to it. No one wants to talk to anyone; they just want to schedule it online. So that's
Yeah.
funny. Hmm.
Yeah. And this one, how do I book, is kind of, that's mostly for repeating clients, because one of my next
Right.
ones would be how do I begin? And so that's kind of two different paths. And you should look at your site and think about, is this easy for my existing clients? And is this easy for new people? And those are really two different questions and two different answers. So your existing clients may download the app the first time they're in, and they're going to use that going forward. So then they don't care about the booking on the website because they're all in on the app. It's not realistic for a new person for you to tell them, go download our app the very first time. Now you're going to leave the website, go download an app, try and
Mm.
create an account there.
Too much friction.
That's a little bit clunky to get
Mm.
started. So kind of two questions there.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. All right. So we on number 6 now. How do I buy?
Yep. How do I buy? And so this is another critical piece of information to the decision process for a new person. And it's really comes down to having a pricing page or some sort of information on that how do I get started page about how much it costs. If you have an intro offer, what those starting at prices. If you don't want to list your entire menu or all your prices, totally fine, but have some type of grounding price. Our intro offer, 3-session intro pack is this amount of dollars. Ongoing packages start at something, just some type of information so that they know that it's in their budget. Because previous one was, will it fit into my daily life schedule? This one is, will it fit into my budget? And people, it's been shown that if there are no prices on a website, especially I think for something like personal training, something that's specialized, people are going to assume that it's too expensive for them. So I encourage having some type of grounding price on there.
I was literally about to ask you that, no pricing versus pricing, because that's another controversial topic in I guess business websites.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense. So if you don't have a price, it's either truly very bespoke services or it's luxury.
right.
Is that the assumption you reckon for no
It
pricing?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have had personal trainers who are, we're doing their website and like we intentionally want to put some barriers in place because we don't, and so they don't put pricing and you have to get on a call with them. I mean, that's a good way
Probably
to get
$1,000 a
less
workout or
leads.
something.
Right. It's a good way to get less leads. So if that's not you, I would put some sort of just baseline pricing.
Yeah, because I think most of us are serving, even if it's like a lot of people listening to this will be working with, I guess, high income busy professionals, but I'd still think they're probably in an income tier where they want to see a price point. I mean, it's not like, working with billionaires kind of market. So it's still
Yeah.
probably, yeah, having the pricing visible is probably important. Um, this is a subtle thing, but we have like page that's just called services. And then when you go to services, you can see each service and the price associated with that service. Is it better to have pricing rather than services?
I think it's fine to include it on the
Okay.
services page. Yeah.
So you wouldn't change the label of that page to pricing?
No,
Just curious. No?
I don't think you
Okay.
need to.
Okay, cool. Um, I think I wanted to add something else to say on that, but it's gone from my head now. So if it comes back, I'll let you know. Any other thoughts on that before we move on how do I buy on pricing or
Yeah, I mean, that kind of leads us into the next one, which is how do I begin?
number
I
7,
think
how do I begin? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think the pricing conversation extends into that exciting first step that you're trying to get people to do too. And so this may be the only price that you put on your site. At least there's something, right? They know what that first step package is.
It's like an order of
Um,
magnitude, like, oh, okay, so it's that kind of pricing, right? And they get a feel, yeah,
right.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then they'll understand, like, I mean, because usually intro offers are like half of, there's some kind of formula usually that people use. I mean, generally, little tricky if you have a free first session or something.
Yeah.
But that's where I would anchor it with some other price. But yeah, that intro offer price or the very first package that you offer new clients. I mean that wraps up, this checklist is as people are browsing around, they've kind of established that they know who you are, they know what your business does, they know where your business is, they trust you, they have some confidence that you can do what you say you do. They are starting to feel like, this may be the answer for my goals. They they decided that you fit into their schedule. They've decided that you fit into their budget. And now I see a lot of websites that kind of drop the ball at this point. Like done all this work up to this point, but now they're kind of left floating around the website. So this very clear call to action about how to get started. Book your free intro consultation or, buy a three session intro pack. That needs to be obvious and across the site everywhere. So no matter what page they're on, all those pages and all that content that we just talked about, when they get to that point where they make the decision where they're like, okay, I'm in, let's do this, that button should be right in front of them, pretty much anywhere they are on the site. So use it across the entire site, make it like uniform throughout the entire site. You will think as you're looking at it, oh gosh, here I am again. Like I'm tired of seeing this button and seeing this call to action. But that's right where you want to be. You want it to be so obvious and so clear and so repeated throughout your site that there's no question about how someone begins.
And what do you think about when people click that call to action? What should you have on that page, do you think?
Yeah, I like to create a page that's just for new clients that has all the information. It's basically you having that sales conversation, one-sided sales conversation that you would have in real life if you were talking to someone who's like, okay, I'm in, like, or I'm considering this. What do I need to know? Put all of that on one page so that you can get that half of the sales. So it's a sales conversation, really. And you can send people to that page too. So I like it going to a
Mm,
page that tells them that sole purpose of that page is to sell them on that first step. The value of that first step. You're not trying to sell them into like 6 months down the road, you'll see results. You are telling them, okay, we'll use the 3 session intro. That's our first step.
Yep.
After 3 sessions, you'll understand the power of this, method. You'll, see how effective your workouts can be. Whatever it is, you're selling that in that first step only on that page. You're also going to include testimonials for sure. Particularly, this is a place where you're going to filter out and curate some testimonials that talk about people's hesitations getting started with a new workout routine. So, not
Ah,
people like, I've been going to the studio for 5 years and I've seen all of these changes. Nope, those don't belong on this page. This page is, I was really nervous to start. I didn't, had tried other things and I was beginning to feel like no fitness routine was going to work for me. Those are the type of testimonials you want on this new client getting started page. And then frequently asked questions are really powerful for as hesitation busters, busting through that last, like, I'm hovering over the button, maybe, I don't know, but am I going to be locked into a contract? So these particular frequently asked questions that I'm talking about on this how do I begin page are more the hesitations that people have, the questions they have before they get started. So not like, how do I cancel? How do I, reschedule? Those type of things can go on a different FAQ page. This is more the, I'm nervous to take this first step. What types of things can you get out of the way and kind of to help them get over that? So yeah, no contract, cancel anytime, that those type of things go on there. So if you just build that kind of sales conversation, think through those conversations that you have with new people and then put that information on that sales page, it can do a lot of the work for you before they are in for their first session or they're just calling with questions.
yeah, great. Awesome. Thank you for that. Awesome. So just to summarize that checklist, then I'm going to try and summarize this briefly, and you can correct me, Connie. So number one, we start with who are you? So just trying to be clear about who's behind the business. So don't use stock photos, use your own images, your own photos, get your logo and copy nice and big and readable across platform. Number two, what does your business do? Don't be cute, be clear, use clarity, spell it out, be really clear in terms of what you offer and what you do. Number three, where is your business? So be really clear with your location. I think we talked about having it embedded on the homepage and the footer and the header in terms of description of the location, the address, maybe embedding a Google map and giving directions as well. Number four, why your business? So differentiating it with a really clear client-focused headline that differentiates your business. And then, of course, using photos and testimonials from your clients that are relevant and related to that headline and that those USPs or free uniques, depending on what your strategy is around that. And number five, how do I book? So having, let me see here, remind myself. So just having a clear route for clients, and I guess it's more for, like you say, existing clients to know how to schedule their sessions and understand availability. So opening hours, and you talk about in an ideal world these days, better to have some kind of scheduling software or widget, etc., on the website that makes it really easy for people to schedule their sessions. And number six, how do I buy? And just a really clear direction for, or just examples showing clients and prospects exactly what your prices are, so what they can expect, and having that on like a services page. That's, like you said, that's going to be more effective than not having a price, because if you don't have a price, people just simply think you are unaffordable. And number seven, how do I begin? Is just having this is super, probably one of the most important things you discussed today, is just having a very clear call to action on all your pages, I guess, for how people can get started with your business and having your main offer there. Now, for most of us, it's actually in our space a free introductory workout. It's the typical lead magnet, I guess you might call it, although it's not
Yeah.
technically a lead magnet because that would be where we're grabbing an email, isn't it? But yeah, an offer, I guess, which works quite well. But I do think there's room in our space to actually improve on that. But that's one for another time. So is that accurate? Am I missing anything there, Connie, that you think could
No,
have?
I think that was
Yeah,
perfect. Great summary. Yeah.
great. And I had one more question for you. You guys like to use Squarespace, is that right? Is that the go-to? And why is that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I design entirely on Squarespace now. The reason for that is I feel confident handing over that website to a busy fitness business owner, and that they are going to have the capacity to keep it up, that they're going to be able
Okay.
to easily change text and photos. When I've designed in other platforms previously, that usually comes with a to-do list of like tech things you have to do every month or the website's going to break. That's not the case with Squarespace. So I just found it's a good it's really compatible with all different scheduling softwares, embeds, and everything. But it's a good, easy to manage platform for busy fitness studio owners because they don't have time to they don't want to do all the tech backups and things that a lot of other platforms require.
It sounds like the opposite of WordPress from what you're
It
saying.
is the opposite of WordPress. Yes,
Because
exactly. I have a blog post that
oh, that
compares the two. But
oh,
yeah,
you do? All right. Well,
yeah,
we'll link that up. So, Andre, listening to
perfect.
this, make sure you add that. What is it called? Do you remember off the top of your head the blog post?
The
Can
blog
we find it?
post. I'll find it really quick.
That's
It's a
okay.
blog
You don't have
post.
to. I'll find it. So yeah, so Squarespace versus WordPress blog post. Well, we'll get that linked up. I'll send it to Andre after this. So that's fascinating because that's been a huge issue for me because I have WordPress for this business, for high intensity business, as well as the studio, and it's definitely made it difficult for me to innovate and fix things. So that's really interesting. So because I looked at your services and your pricing, and I think you're very reasonably priced. And I assume what you typically do then is you'll deliver a website and then it's over to them to manage it, or do you also do some kind of ongoing management as well for people if they want that, I guess, in your business?
Yeah, yeah. So every project that I wrap up, there's training included. So make sure that
Oh,
you walk
right.
away feeling confident in doing basic updates to your site. Outside of that, yeah, I don't have any retainer support options because people don't need them. I mean, the website, there's customer support with Squarespace. It's going to stay up and active. I do for past clients though have one-off, I call them get it done calls that they can book them 30, 60 minutes whenever they want to just get in. We get in on a Zoom call and we make updates live together. It's pretty efficient. So it's just kind of nice
Yeah.
when you need it. I'm here. I do this full time. So, when you need it, I'm here, but I don't expect you to have to need it. But a lot of people do that when they're like, I need to add a new service page and I just want to sit back and watch you do it and tell you what I need. And it's
Yeah.
a good way to keep connected with past clients.
You're a breath of fresh air. This is so like I just love the fact that you're like, yeah, no, it's simple. We use Squarespace. We design, deploy, we train you up and you're good to go. I'm like thinking like just there's so many people I know this would be valuable for and probably valuable for myself as well. And how do we so I know we want to certainly talk about your podcast that's starting. But how do we where do we send people to learn more about your website design business and also the podcast?
Yeah, my website is pixalitydesign.com. That's Pixality design.com. I'm also on Instagram. I do a lot over there at Pixality Design, so you can come follow me over there. And that blog post I just pulled up, it's called "Why I Recommend Squarespace to Fitness and Wellness Business Owners," and I have pretty
Right.
good SEO. So if you just Google Squarespace fitness business owners, you'll probably find my website if you can't remember how to type it in.
This is the thing as a website designer, you have to have a shit hot website, don't you? Because otherwise people just don't trust it.
Right, right, exactly. We
Which you
try.
do, by the way. It's
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
Awesome. Connie, thank you so much for doing this. Sorry, you mentioned a podcast, didn't you,
I
as well?
didn't know. I just
Oh,
launched a podcast at the time of this recording yesterday, so it's live
wow.
now with 3 episodes. You can find it at boutiquefitnessmarketing.com. It's the Boutique Fitness Marketing Podcast, so you can search for it in your podcast player as well.
Yeah, and as I was saying to you, genius idea, because again, there's a lot of fitness business podcasts out there, but to have a place people can go, especially my audience, hopefully they'll obviously find some value in the marketing we talk about, but also to have another place they can go to learn about specifically fitness business marketing is very cool. So I'm excited about that. I'll be tuning in.
Thanks.
Thank you, Connie. Really appreciate you making the time. Stay on if you can. I'll talk to you just for a minute after this. But for everyone listening, to get the show notes for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com and search episode 430. So 437. Yeah, that's right. 437. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. Welcome to another episode brought to you by Imagine Strength, the future of safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Are you a HIIT studio owner looking for equipment that's not just top-notch, but also tailored to your specific needs? Imagine Strength is your answer. Inspired by the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength is revolutionizing the HIIT industry with their state-of-the-art yet affordable equipment. Their team doesn't just sell HIIT equipment, they live and breathe it. I've personally experienced their gear at the Resistance Exercise Conference, and let me tell you, it was an intense workout that I won't soon forget, in the best way possible, of course. So why choose Imagine Strength? Number one, they provide customized solutions for HIIT studios. Number 2, they have budget-friendly yet high-performance designs. And number 3, they're committed to innovation and excellence in high-intensity training specifically. Founder Jeff Turner and his dedicated team are on a mission to make HIT accessible to everyone. Getting started is easy. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, consult with their expert team. And number 3, choose the equipment that will skyrocket your business. Don't wait. Head over to imaginestrength.com and elevate your HIT studio today with Imagine Strength.